You are listening to Business Marketing Show, episode number 3. You can find us at businessmarketingshow.com.
Welcome to the Business Marketing Show, where we talk about all things online business and how to build a rugged, robust, reliable business that gets continual stream of new customers and new sales from the internet. How are you?
I want one of those, Brendan.
Me too.
Can I have one, please?
Sure,
No,
absolutely.
That's excellent, and that's what people want to hear. How to get this stuff up and running, and navigate their way through the complexities of online marketing and business building, and that's what we're here to do. So what are we going to talk about today? One of your favourite subjects, I know.
Well, Google Plus, Places, Google Local, Google Maps, which is all really the same thing, getting your business on Google Maps.
Fantastic. And that is a constantly changing landscape, which is why a lot of people get confused. Even I do sometimes, because they change their mind or their direction what seems like every week, and merge things together and then stop using things. So I think a lot of people out there who are trying to do this stuff themselves are very confused by it. So let's start at the beginning. What was the initial product or service that Google offered to do with locations?
Well, the way I explain it in the workshops is there is Google Maps, which everybody is familiar with, the maps on Google, and Google Places is the business directory that integrates with Google Maps. So it's the names change all the time. Google is terrible at this thing with changing names and merging things and tweaking names. So Google Places was the original directory that integrated with Google Maps. So if you wanted your business to show up on Google Maps, you needed a Google Places listing.
Yes.
So now there's a lot of confusion because there is Google Local, Google Plus, which is Google Social Network, Google Plus Local, and then people are already confused between Google Maps and Google Places. So more of the confusion has come about lately because Google have merged Google Plus, their social network, with Google Places, their business directory. So they're effectively the same thing, but it's caused all sorts of chaos because if you already had a business page on Google Plus, their social network, and you had a Google Places listing, there could be problems.
Okay. And what sort of problems are we talking about? Do they shut down your Google Places listing? Is that what can happen? Or
yeah, businesses, all sorts of things, all sorts of randomness. Businesses disappear, your rankings drop off the search results, businesses appearing in the wrong place with the wrong details, like you name it, all sorts of randomness and weirdness happens. So it's a bit of a hodgepodge for sure. Okay,
so it sounds like it takes a little bit of detective work to know where to go and where to look and what accounts to log into. And often I think that's something I come across with a lot of our clients with things like Google Analytics or Places. They'll go and set up lots of different accounts under different logins and email addresses, not knowing they could do it all under one account. So you end up with things spread all across the board, not connected to each other, and it becomes a real nightmare. So would you suggest the number one thing to first of all be aware of is that you can actually have all this under one account? Would that make sense?
I think so, yeah. Okay. And I guess also it's important that there's some kind of centralized record of this stuff because people set up these listings and they stuff them full of keywords and do things that work to get them to rank or get traffic right now. And then 2 years down the track, that technique doesn't work and nobody knows where the listing is or how to edit it. And then it becomes a major cleanup job. So I guess, ideally having it all under one account and, having those logon details centralized somewhere, this is important stuff, particularly as people rely more and more on websites and search engines to get new customers. If your Places listing disappears or has a problem, especially if you're like a retail store or somewhere where people actually go to, then that can cause major problems for the business.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so why don't we start off with the assumption that some people listening to this podcast do not actually have a Google Places or a Google Plus account at all. So why don't we start off start at the beginning and say, okay, what do they need to do to get themselves set up?
Okay, so I would say number one, if we're taking on a client to do SEO or sort them out on Google Places, we would first check to see if there is already a location or a listing for their business in Google Places. Now, they can be automatically generated. So even if you haven't set one up for your business, it may have been automatically generated by Google. Often Google takes Yellow Pages listings and creates Google Places or Google Maps listings from those. So that would be step one, is go into Google Maps and search your business name, your business telephone number, and your business address and see if anything comes up.
Okay, and do that within Google Maps.
Within Google Maps, yeah.
Okay, cool. So that's the first step. Once they've done that and they found out that they actually don't have a listing, then they can go ahead and start creating one. So if they've already got any account at all with Google, they can log in using those details. They may have an AdWords account or an analytics account or whatever, and then within their account they can actually go and set this up. So where would they go to do that?
Okay, so that would be, so when they log into their Google account, it would be google.com/local/add, ADD.
We'll have that in the show notes, won't we, Brendan?
Yes, we will, for sure.
Okay, so they go there and then they fill in all their pertinent information, which is what I think a lot of people skip over too quickly. They don't put any thought into it. They just fill in stuff and don't do it properly. So what should they be looking out for?
So one of the things we do often, so we take on a client and one of the easiest wins is going into their Google Places listing and just filling out all the fields, like things like opening hours, email address, telephone fax number if they have one still, adding photos. Just by using all the fields, you may be able to outrank competitors or get more traffic than competitors. So all things being equal, Google will rank the listing that has more detailed information higher than a listing that has almost no information. So, set it up and use all the fields, and also don't be an idiot and be spammy and fill it full of rubbish and keywords. And, that old technique just doesn't work. Like, people are still doing that stuff where they're filling fields full of keywords and not using natural language that makes sense, that's designed for people to read. So those would be the two there.
So what's the next step after that?
They may need to re-verify it. If it's a new listing, they'll need to verify it. So the verification process, basically Google will either call you with an automated call with a PIN number, or they post you a PIN number. And once you get the PIN number, you put that PIN number into the Google Places, Google local dashboard, and then the listing is verified and it's effectively live. So you'll do that. You'll need to do that when it's a new listing, or where you've claimed, if you've found that you're listed and you've claimed that listing, so you can manage it, or where you're making major changes to it. So that would be the next step, verifying it. So that process is a bit fiddly. If it's by telephone, then it's easy. Their system calls you. If it's via post, it can take weeks for that postcard to arrive, and it actually looks like junk mail, so often it gets lost. So it's a bit annoying. If you don't have that option to phone verify, so Google, depending on the changes you're making, you may not have the option to do the phone verification. So definitely need some patience around that one.
And if you are getting a mail verification, not email, we're talking physical mail, snail mail, make sure your staff are aware that there is something coming from Google and you need it. Because I have had at least 5 or 6 clients where I have said this very same thing to them. They don't tell their staff, it comes in the mail, they chuck it in the bin, and then got to start all over again and wait for another 2 weeks to get the verification number. So really important to let people know, the key people or anyone who's going to receive mail, not to chuck it out. Okay, next.
Next. So this one kind of should be done while you're setting up the listing, or can be done after verifying the listing. If you're not listed already, you really need to get listed ASAP, because people, again, if you're a retail business or somewhere that people go to, people are searching on Google Maps all day long on mobile devices. So the priority would be actually getting listed and then optimizing the listings. So one of the most important things that nobody really knows about is having a consistent name, business name, address, and phone number across the internet. So making sure that the address you are using on the website is actually your correct address, and making sure that that matches the Google Places listing can mean the difference between ranking and showing up in Google or not showing up. So the perfect example I had a cafe in Sydney a couple of months ago. They wanted to get more traffic, so we had a look at their Google Places listing, and there was one very tiny difference where the Places listing had just the street address, like the number, I think it was 2, whatever the street is.
Yep.
And then the website had suite, whatever it was, 2 street name. So there was a mismatch. So that's a problem because Google uses a lot of automated algorithms to match these things up. So all we did on the website, so the address was in the website. The only thing we did was take the suite number out of the footer of the website and off the Contact Us page and load up some images onto the Google Plus page because there were no images. And they went from getting about 20, 30 visits a day to getting 100 to 110 visits a day, just with those tiny little tweaks. And this is a cafe, so...
Yeah. That's a big difference. And I've seen the same sort of scenario where on the website, for some strange reason, they've got their PO box rather than their physical address, something silly like that. So it's not going to match up. So that's a great quick win tip that people can go and do, is make sure that all of their contact details and addresses are succinct across all their web platforms. Yep. Awesome. Good tip. That's worth the listen, that one.
Yep. I'll link in the show notes as well. On my side, I have there's a blog post about optimizing your Contact Us page. So it's got some things about consistent name, address, and phone number. Another good one is actually embedding the Google Maps page on your Contact Us page, because when I'm looking for somewhere, I'll go to the website and then I'll go to the Contact Us page, and it really frustrates me when there's no Google Map on there or link across to Google Maps. And that means I have to copy and paste the address, go and find it on Google. But if there's a link or if it's embedded, then it makes my life really easy. And you can, I'm a technical guy. Not a lot of it. The majority of the population isn't that technical. So if you make it harder for them, there's an obstacle in their way, and there's a competitor where it's easier to find them on the map, you're going to lose that customer.
Absolutely. And look, if anyone who's using WordPress, there's a plugin that does that, and literally will take 5 minutes. Yep. So easy peasy. Very cool. Very, very cool. All right, so we've gone and we've inputted all the data, we've done all that sort of stuff. Now we're talking Google Places. So now let's get into the Google Plus local scenario. What's the story with that? Well, first of all, what is Google Plus?
Okay, Google Plus, Google Social Network. So that's their competitor to Facebook or Twitter or whatever. So basically, if you have any sort of account on Google now, if you have a Gmail account, if you have a Google Analytics account, that's effectively your Google Plus login. So it's kind of not so much, well, it is a social network, but it's like a layer across all the Google suite of services. So once you're logged in, you're effectively using Google Plus. So similar to Facebook pages, there are Google Plus business pages. So that's what I'm talking about, where the confusions come in, because people had set up Google Plus business pages and had them running for a year or two, and they also had separate Google Places listings, and now Google have merged the two. So they're effectively the same thing. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. But this is where people could come undone, because Google has been sending out a lot of emails to different companies saying, make sure you update it by the 21st, I think it is, which is today, was the day we're doing this podcast, so too late if you listen to it later. So that's a case of making sure that those two things aren't doubled up, or that they're synchronized correctly. Is that right?
Yeah, so I have a lot of jobs in our system at the moment to clean up some of the mess left by this merge. So we have quite a few clients who had a separate business page and a separate Google Places account. And they were in separate accounts, so Google couldn't automatically merge them. So now they have two listings, and typically when Google detects more than one maps listing or business listing on the maps, it ranks neither of them, so they both basically cop a penalty. So we have a lot of cleanup. There's so many different issues that it's just going through and cleaning up the mess, deleting duplicates, making sure contact details are correct, because it's merged stuff, it's merged fields that aren't necessarily working correctly. So if you've found that you've suddenly disappeared from Google Maps, or you're not ranking anymore, or your address has disappeared from the search results, that's probably what happened. Something happened during the merge process, or there's a duplicate listing hiding somewhere that needs to be deleted or cleaned up, or whatever.
Excellent. So now typically anything we're talking about here is relating to businesses that have a physical presence. What can people do who are consultants? They may work from home. They may have a shared office where there's an address that's common to 5 or 10 businesses. How can someone like that take advantage of Google Places, Google Plus, Local?
Well, with this merge, or with this update, it's actually been really good in some ways, because it's cleaned up a lot of the problems that used to exist. So now, in the past, in Google Places, you could say that you were what's called a service area business, where you service a particular area, you go and see people, like, say, for example, a carpet cleaner. Yep. And that didn't really work properly. But now, post-merge, it actually does work properly. So Excellent. If you're like someone on the road, or a consultant or someone like that, where maybe you don't actually have an office, you work from a van or whatever, or you're working from home, you can go into the system there and say that you're a service area business, or I think it says you visit customers at their location. So you can select that, which hides your address from the public. So particularly if you're working from home, you want to do that. And then from a best practices perspective, you can set the location. So it's like a circle from your central location, or your house, or wherever you set the address. So you can set it, I think it was 999 kilometers, which is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Even if you do service that sort of range, it's better to set it at 50 kilometers or 20 kilometers. I think those are the two options. So
yeah, okay.
I'd set it at 50 kilometers and then see how you go. That's the best setting that gives you your best chance of ranking the search results. Yeah,
and look, the radius thing is always a very, not that accurate scenario, because it is based on when people are searching, it's based on their IP address of where they are. And I had this conversation with a client the other day regarding AdWords, and saying, look, we're basing the setup of where this customer's ads appear from their central point or their business. And for those who aren't familiar with Perth, it's like a lot of places. There's a north and south of a river, or there's a river dividing two main areas of Perth. So and they mainly wanted to stick with north. They didn't want to do too much south. But of course, once you expand that radius, it's going to go further out each way or every way. So so it's a little bit tricky, and you may have people who work in a certain area where they're doing searches at work on the internet using their boss's computer or their own company computer, whatever it may be. So as far as the search system goes, they're in a different place to where they may actually want to have the end service. They may want to get some work done at their house, and they're looking for people in a certain area. They may not necessarily search that. So it does get a little bit tricky with the location setup within Google, but you can only work with what they've got.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, the location stuff is really, particularly in Australia, it's really only accurate down to capital cities. So
yeah,
it's a tough one. Like, as technology gets better, the location stuff obviously works better on mobile devices which have GPS built in. Some computers have GPS built in now, but just over time that location stuff will get a bit more accurate. But I wouldn't expect it in the next couple of years to be super spot on or super precise. So.
Okay. So, what else do we need to talk about?
The big one that is really important is getting reviews on the Google Plus, or the Google Plus page, or the Google Places listing. So, once you have 5 or more reviews, the listing will rank higher, and it gets more visibility because you get a little star rating in the search results, which means that you stand out a lot more. So, once you're over 5 reviews, you'll rank higher. And on top of that, you'll get more clicks because it catches the eye. And if you have reviews and no one else does, then you're really going to stand out against competitors. And particularly if you're lower down on the list, that standing out factor or looking different is definitely going to attract more clicks. So again, I think I have an article on our website about an easy way to get Google Places reviews, but it's pretty simple. You do the job, and then as long as you've done a good job, ask for feedback. Ask for a testimonial, get the testimonial and feedback. So just do it via email, or you can do it in person or whatever. And if they've given you positive feedback, then send them one more email or ask them if they'd be kind enough to give you a review on Google Places or Google Plus.
Yeah.
And not everyone's going to do it. More people have a Google Plus account now because it's integrated with Gmail. So if they have a Gmail account, it's really easy. But that strategy works well. We use it for most clients, and if you set it up so it's kind of automated, so you close off a job in whatever system you're using and then an email goes out automatically, you set it up once and don't have to think about it. So we have many clients who get a couple of Google Places reviews every month. And the thing is, they've been doing this for years. It's an automated system, and it's almost impossible for competitors to catch up. So, if you have 30 or 40 reviews and your competitor's starting from scratch, it's going to be very difficult for them to catch up in a short period of time.
Yes, particularly if you've had it going for a while and you keep it running. So now, of course, the opposite to good reviews are negative reviews. Can you stop people from giving you negative reviews on your account listing?
It depends. If they are not genuine negative reviews, you can report them and they will disappear. So we've done that for a few clients where a competitor's gone in and spammed their listing, or they had an ex-staff member who's done some sort of dodgy review or whatever. So you can actually go in and report those as inappropriate and give a reason, detailed reason why. And then after a while, it can take months that they do fall off, and someone obviously goes into a queue somewhere at Google and gets deleted. So that's if they're not genuine negative reviews. If they are genuine negative reviews, you've really got two problems. One is there's something wrong in your business that's generating that negative review.
Yep.
And we talk about in the workshops, you'll probably remember that things like social media and the internet amplify customer sentiment about your business. So if you have a really great business, then leveraging social media and the internet's going to make it look even better. So it amplifies that, that feeling that customers have, the positive feeling. If you have a business that's a bit average, or you often have problems with customers, then using social media tools and your online, focusing on your online marketing strategy may amplify that negative sentiment. So the core of the problem is something's wrong with the business that's generating that negativity. So that you would be wise to work on that as a priority. You can go in and reply to negative reviews. So as a business, you can go in as the business owner and you hit the reply button and put a comment in, ask them for more information, ask them to get in touch. So at least you look proactive and it looks like you're doing something, or you can tell your side of the story. But if they're kind of genuine negative reviews, or if you have a lot of them, then they can be very damaging to the business and they can be hard to get rid of. So
yes,
it's a funny one.
It comes down to reputation repair then, so which is always harder to undo things. So fantastic. Well, I think that's probably quite a lot of detail for people on one particular subject today. So if anyone needs help, they can always contact us. What's the best way to contact you, Brendan?
Or over at the website, thesearchengineshop.com.
Yep. Or they can email you at brendan@thesearchengineshop.com.
That is correct.
Cool. And if anyone wants to talk to me, they can get me at info@onlineimpact.com.au or .com, either one. And we'll be glad to help in any way we can. We do provide this as a service, a paid service. If people want to get this sort of stuff done and they don't want to do it themselves, they've listened to the podcast and they go, sounds great, guys, but I don't have the time to do all that, which is probably most people. Feel free to contact us and we can certainly help you out with that. So we are at the end of our time. Thanks for listening, and any questions, feel free to put them in the contact area.
Cool.
Thanks, Brendan. Talk
See you next time.
Next week. Thanks, mate.
Cool, mate.
See ya.
Cheers. Bye.
You've been listening to Business Marketing Show, episode number 3. You can find us at businessmarketingshow.com or on iTunes. Just search for Business Marketing Show.